It takes the right skills and the right innovation to design and manage meaningful print marketing solutions. Welcome to Podcasts from the Printerverse, where we explore all facets of print and marketing that create stellar communications and sales opportunities for business success. Now here's your host, the intergalactic ambassador to the Printerverse, Deborah Corn. Listen long and prosper.
Hey everybody, welcome to Podcast from the Printerverse. This is Deborah Corn, your intergalactic ambassador. And today we have been to merry old England. And we are speaking with Beckett, Wayne Beckett. He is the Joint Managing Director of Resolve Business Management and the event organizer for Printing Expo Online. Hello, Wayne Beckett.
Hi, Deborah. How are you?
I am fantastic. It is so amazing to have you on the podcast. We've known each other a long time. I always call you Beckett, Wayne Beckett, because you're the James Bond of the printing industry to me. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you got to this point?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. Well, like most of us in this business, I've worked in the print industry virtually all my life. I left school and moved into publishing. And, you know, this was back in the day where we used to get board artwork sent to us on a courier. And then we had to take it down to the typesetters where they'd cut and paste and shoot the artwork and films and all of that kind of thing. So I've seen a lot of changes in the industry. I worked in publishing, probably for about 15 years when I first left school. And then I launched my own print magazine, would you believe, called Imprint. And we ran that for quite a few years. Sold that on to a printer. And then a friend of mine had a used machinery. His dad owned a used machinery business. And he asked me if I would help out for a while. Before I knew it, I was a used machinery dealer, traveling the world, viewing machines in various states of repair. IPEX came along and I was offered the opportunity to become the sales director for IPEX. So I started at IPEX in 2012 and worked on the 2014, which we all know how that panned out. I started working on IPEX, which is the International Printing Exhibition, and that ran every 4 years. So it dovetailed with Drupa. So you'd have Drupa, and then 2 years later you would have IPEX. Market changed. OEMs decided that maybe one international trade show was all that's required. One had to go. Drupa was probably the stronger show out of the two. They won, and hence IPEX is no more, which was a real shame. We ran it at the NEC for a number of years, moved it down to London, which a lot of people say was the straw that broke the camel's back. It wasn't, of course, because we did talk to all the big exhibitors to see whether they were happy with moving it to London. But, you know, times change. The market's moved on. You know, the heavy iron at trade shows, you know, that used to take the whole hall of the NEC when IPEX was running, and whole halls of Drupa has all changed. Everything's a lot smaller now, a lot smarter, and companies are having to work differently.
Yeah, and the pandemic certainly was a frying pan to the head for a lot of people out there with physical events and people who worked for physical events like me. I was like, oh, look at this. My entire business is gone. Along with many other people. I mean, my God, travel people and hotels and, you know, event spaces. I mean, we don't need to cap it, but obviously we were all caught up in the same situation there. So what does Resolve Business Management do? And you're the Joint Managing Director there.
My business partner and I, we started Resolve Business Management. We were working for a software business and we were selling MIS. After I left IPEX, we set up our own business to try and help companies understand software, because believe it or not, and we're still seeing it now in the current role, people still struggle to get their heads around the benefit of good software integration. So we left and set up Resolve Business Management, and we worked with a German MIS company that was cloud-based, because we saw that cloud was the way forward for software integration. After about a year, they got bought out by a rather large OEM, and consultants weren't part of the mix. But we've been thinking about launching a virtual event for some time, long before the pandemic hit us. we had the idea that this industry needed a vehicle, a platform that could give OEMs global coverage. Yes, you've got Drupa, which is probably for the graphics industry, is probably truly the only trade show that's international. So we came up with the idea, as I say, long before the pandemic, to launch Printing Expo.
Okay, so before we get into everything about online events, which is really how I want to frame this conversation about the incredible success you've had and how you have achieved it, let's just start with tell everybody about Printing Expo online and what's there, what they can do there, and entice them to register for free, by the way, and check it out.
Basically, Printing Expo is a multimedia 3D platform that gives printers globally the opportunity to go into an environment that looks, for all intents and purposes, like a real show, that has various stands, it has showrooms, we have print production factories. It's a fun place to go. It's a website. You go, you register for free, and you can go visit it whenever you like. We're open 24/7, 365 days a year. And it's just a place that, in your lunch break or your tea break, or if you're sitting at home, you can just go on and click around, look at the kit. We've got printing presses, we've got finishing equipment, there's software vendors, there's used machinery vendors, and it's growing all the time. We've just launched today the inkjet integration arena, and we've got 4 or 5 new exhibitors on there. We've got people like Crown Van Gelden and Haraeus and Simply Inkjet that are showing. And it's just a way for exhibitors to just display their products, if you like, their products, their videos, their brochures, in a way that is fun for people to go on and have a look around. There's no commitment other than that. You don't have to book flights, hotels, or anything like that. And you can spend an hour in there or 2 minutes in there. It's the user environment, the user experience that we're really offering. It's a website at the end of the day, but we hope that it's a fun place to go and have a click around.
We've always been aligned on that, on the user experience being, really important. When we first met, you were at IPEX, and, it was all about the attendee experience, as well as making sure the exhibitors got the experience they want too, which was you bringing the right attendees to the show for them to speak with. Last thing I just want to mention about the platform is that I really enjoy the auditorium. I love how you could just click on the logos of the companies that you and the organizations that you want to learn from, and you go in there and it's very easy to see. There's visuals. It's not just a list of links. I just think overall, it is really, to your point, it's a fun place to visit, and click around, and you kind of do actually walk around. And you're right. It really does feel like you're in a booth or at an experience in the showrooms. And it's just really a great interface and a really cool platform that you built. And the reason why we're actually doing this podcast is because early on, you reached out to me and, we're talking about potentially partnering on this. And I was like, Wayne, it's a virtual platform. Like, nah, it doesn't work. These things don't work. The people in the printing industry, they don't know how to deal with stuff like that. They're all about, I've got to see people, which I'm not saying you don't, but it's a brand new world out there, and everybody, guess what, doesn't go to trade shows. So I was very skeptical about all of this. And what I basically said was, why don't you launch it and then come back and see me then? And you haven't, because you've been so damn busy creating an empire with this show because it's become so successful. So let's start there. How were you able to get all this support? And what are some of the conversations you're having about online events in general? And I'm not really sure I would call this an online event. I think you're right by calling it a printing expo. It is really a trade show online. So my apologies for that.
Print Media Centre provides printspiration and resources to our vast network of print and marketing professionals. Whether you're an industry supplier, print service provider, print customer or consultant, we have you covered. with topical sales and marketing content, event support and coverage, these podcasts, and an array of community-lifting initiatives. We also work with printers, suppliers, and industry organisations, helping them create meaningful relationships with customers and achieve success with their sales, social media, and content marketing endeavours. Visit printmediacentre.com and connect with the Printerverse. Print long and prosper.
Well, to be honest with you, you were part of a long list of people when we first started out that said to us, well, launch it and come back to us when you're up and running, which is never easy with a trade show. And I got to say, it used to be the same with IPEX. Nobody wanted to be the first person on the floor plan. They knew that the event would run, it would come around every 4 years, but no one wanted to be the first. It was hard. So we launched it middle of February last year, this new coronavirus we started hearing about. And by the middle of March, everyone was furloughed, and all the people that we'd made the initial contact to was sitting at home in their gardens, not able to work. So it did hit us in that respect. But we were lucky. We spoke to a couple of OEMs, namely HP and Muller Martini. And I was dealing with a couple of people that just got it, that just understood the benefits of having a virtual environment to show their customers. The show's almost secondary because somebody like Muller Martini, I mean, they use the showroom for their salespeople to do Zoom calls, and then they walk their customers around their virtual showroom and they talk about the machines. The sales guys, get a little bit more information as to what the customer requires. And if you are actually looking at a machine, albeit virtually, you can actually spend more time with the customer. And I think that's something that Muller Martini have benefited from greatly. As is HP, the digital pouch factory was, again, one of the first assets that went live. And they've done exactly the same. They've used it for customer visits. Their salespeople open up the digital pouch factory and they give online tours to their customers. What they get from the show, i.e. sales leads, people that come onto the environment and leave their details, that's a plus for them. But it's a sales tool, really, that they use it for. And again, with the likes of Zycon, and I'm talking about some of the larger environments, it's a way of generating sales leads. It's a way of collecting data, and we all know how important data is, GDPR compliant data, which is even more important. But also as well, it's a sales tool. It's a sales tool for the company globally. It's not easy, even without COVID and lockdown, to fly somebody from South America to your nearest showroom. This way they can actually pre-qualify people and then take them to their showrooms. If they tick all the boxes, then they get the opportunity to travel. That's how we started. It's been hard because we launched with maybe half a dozen exhibitors, and then people say, well, there's not much there. Come back to us when you get more exhibitors. You get to the situation. But we've opened Zone 2 now. We've had, this morning, I think we've gone over 32,000 visitors since we launched 6 months ago from 170 countries. I mean, there's countries on the list that I've never heard of that we get now through our analytics. And it's starting to snowball now. I know we've got more and more people looking to come on board. We're building a second factory now for commercial print for one of our existing OEMs. It's growing all the time, and it's virtual. We've got as much space as we need. We're almost full in Zone 2, Zone 3, Zone 4. Then once we've filled that, we can put an upstairs in, we can go in the basement, we can put it in a hot air balloon, we can go anywhere we like.
It's the numbers that people cannot, argue with. 32,000 people in 6 months is an incredible achievement. Tell me about conversations you're having with companies that you want to onboard. Are you finding that the millennials get it and maybe the Gen Xers are a little more skeptical? And looking at your demographics, are you noticing that there are more younger people on the platform? And can you see what they're doing?
Yep, we can. Google Analytics is a wonderful thing. So like everybody with their websites, we can track behavior on the site. Definitely. The kind of 25 to 45 age group is where we're strongest, and they just get it. They're so used to just clicking into a website. We used to have a very long form registration that asked about type of business, et cetera, et cetera. Do we need that? Probably not. So we've come up with a short form registration, which is basically just your business card details, if you like, on registration. And then once you come in, you can tick the box that says, I don't want to be contacted. You can opt in, you can opt out. And then once you're in, you can click around as much as you like. And yes, definitely millennials get the platform, understand the user experience and get what it's all about. The auditorium is a great thing for us because it means that we can roll content. So not only are the stands changing their content because exhibitors can actually edit their stands themselves, so they can upload new brochures, new videos, etc., but the auditorium, we run a D-scoop in there, and we try and run as much new content in there as we can to keep people coming back. And then you get the crossover as well. So you might get somebody that is coming just to see Muller Martini, but then they might click on the global graphics software stand. So you do get that cross-pollination of visitors at the show, like you would get at an actual show itself.
Right. I have seen plenty of marketing for the show, but it's really stood out in so many ways. So let's focus on that for a moment and growing the audience that really your customers, the exhibitors, want to be in the platform at the exhibit. So what was your strategy behind growing the audience, and how are you making those little videos of you're like showing, it's like a virtual reality thing where I'm walking into someone's stand. Right. Really incredible marketing.
Well, it's an online platform, so social media obviously plays a major part in that. We're building quite a large following on all our social media groups. LinkedIn, probably our strongest, probably not as strong as yours, but we're getting there. And obviously, we've got a database, so we can target. So if a customer comes to us and says, we're looking to target specifically Scandinavia, so we can actually send targeted e-shots out to specific countries, target areas to bring in. But social media, LinkedIn's a very powerful tool. I don't probably think that I realised how powerful it is, but we do very well through that. We send a couple of newsletters out. Some people appreciate them more than others, as we all know, but we try and keep them short and sweet. And then, of course, you've got all the exhibitors promoting as well. The Global Graphics Software, they've actually embedded their stand in their website. So it's a digital asset. So you can actually send out an email that brings people directly to your stand. You don't have to get them through the doors. HP have got their own registration page, so have Muller Martini, so have Zycon. So it's a digital marketing tool. You can use it. Somebody said to me today, it's like having a stand in your pocket. You can show people your exhibition stand on your phone when you can get back out and see people. Muller Martini actually used their Printing Expo stand at Virtual Drupa. So they took their Printing Expo stand to another virtual show, which is fine. It's only a URL, and you can bring people in and show people. Muller Martini got 9 full finishing lines in their showroom now, and their sales guys have got that on their iPad eventually when they get back out to face-to-face interviews with people.
Don't search Google, search Peacock. The Project Peacock platform is a one-click destination to discover the latest innovations that level up print marketing and to connect with partners that can help you bring new possibilities to life. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, from wherever you are. Join Project Peacock and the Advertising Production Club of New York City for online education and networking events throughout the year. Meet our industry partners to learn about the print technologies pushing marketing communications forward. Request print and paper samples and connect with print and marketing service providers who can help you create, produce, and deliver results. Visit printmediacenter.com and click on the Project Peacock logo for information, registration, and printspiration. Peacock long and prosper. I mean, it's just an incredible journey. So how are you communicating as far as getting return visitors? I'm sorry, I'm just very interested in your traffic patterns, and all of the ways that you have been successful, I think will really help all the companies out there, whether they're a company that's trying to have an online user group conference, or whether they're trying to create a virtual event for their company, or sometimes I do virtual conferences. I am trying to data mine you right now for everything, for how you get 32,000 people in there and how you keep them coming back.
Well, we keep them coming back because it keeps changing. As I say, today we've launched the inkjet integration arena. Today we've seen a massive surge in visitors, not only new visitors, but existing visitors that are coming back because they haven't seen it. It's a new feature area. There's new information to have. And also as well, they'll go on to other stands that they may have been on before because the data's changing.
Right.
There's new videos being updated all the time. Our exhibitors and marketing come to Print and Expo. We've got a new white paper. We've got some new case studies. So it's not like a live event that, once you've walked round, that's it, because it's changing all the time. Because once you've got round, it's changed and you can go around again. There's new stuff being added. Muller went from 4 machines to 7 machines to 9 machines. And every time we added new equipment on there. So we saw another peak in visitors, both existing and new. So that's the thing is that it's not just somewhere that you go once and you've seen everything, because it is changing daily, weekly, and monthly.
I mean, you were really early on this. I mean, February 2020, to your point, was before it wasn't until March, at least in the United States. I know you were ahead of us. So in February, you were talking about it. Here, we were not talking about it in February, as I'm sure you know. What do you think some of the bigger lessons you've learned during this whole process as far as communication about what your offering is and how to explain to people that, yes, the world is opening up and yes, live events are coming back, but I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but I assume, like me, you believe there will always be a space for an online something because everyone can't go to events.
Yeah, and as I said earlier, it's about supporting live events. I mean, initially when we were talking about this, Drupal was happening. So we were talking to companies about recreating Drupal stands at Print and Expo.
And something tells me they thought you were insane.
Well, they did actually, yes. They did.
But isn't it crazy how, like, in this amount of time now, you're actually the one with the same thing at the moment, the online platform, and a live event is the questionable thing?
Yeah, well, yes. But as I said, I mean, I've got a lot of friends that work in live events and they've got to come back. They must come back. As you know, I love live events. I love Drupal. I've done 6 Drupas, I think. I think it's 6. I'm letting on my age there. But yeah, But Wayne, even Drupa knows that they have to have some sort of hybrid model moving forward. You can't put all of your eggs in the I'm going to a live event basket anymore because it's just changed. I mean, financially, things have changed for a lot of printing companies. So I, of course, want them to come back too, but I don't think we should live in some rainbow land where the world is going to all of a sudden snap its fingers and everything goes back to whatever people think was going on in 2019 is the pinnacle of events and all that stuff. The honest truth is that events were already on the decline at that point. And what I mean by decline is that there's less people in the printing industry. There's less companies in the printing industry. That is, natural selection. If you haven't
caught up, or if you're not in a position where you can take a space or whatever it might be, you can't send, maybe you used to send your entire team to a trade show, but now you're only sending 2 or 3 people. I'm not saying there's no value. I'm saying that the model needed some sort of disruption, and it probably would not have happened had there not been this pandemic. But now that there was, I just don't see it going back when there are options and people are in different situations with their business, at least for a few years.
Yeah. Well, it's a new normal, isn't it? There's going to be a new normal. And this market changes so quickly. I mean, I remember somebody telling me that the difference between iPEX in 2010 and iPEX in 2014 was that nobody had heard of an iPad at iPEX 2010, and at 2014, everybody had one. That's how fast our business changes. Digital is moving at a massive rate of knots at the moment. But yeah, I mean, I think it comes from printers being a lot more time poor now. You know, a lot of the printers that we've worked with when I was installing and selling MIS systems, you know, they do everything. They don't have banks of staff anymore. I mean, to get them to actually, and we found it with iPEX, to actually leave the office or the print shop for a day to go to a trade show is almost impossible for these guys. And then if you've got to add to that they've got to fly somewhere, they've got to stay in hotels, they can't go for one day because it's a huge event. They've got to go for 2 or 3 days. I mean, that's a week out. These are people who are not even taking holidays with their families because they're so busy. So to get them to jump on a plane and visit a trade show for a week is almost impossible. And I think that's shown the decline in visitors at live events. And I can't see that improving. And I think with the pandemic, people have started to realise that, well, actually, do we really need to travel? I mean, myself, I remember back not that long ago, I was doing 500, 600, 700 miles a week in the car, going to see customers, doing face-to-face presentations because they expected it. They don't expect it anymore.
No.
One thing that this pandemic has shown is that you can actually do this type of thing. Zoom, everybody's used to Zoom now. It's not shunning them. It's not rude not to go and see somebody. I think back even maybe a couple of years ago, if you suggested a Zoom meeting with a customer, they would think that you can't be bothered to come and see them.
Right.
No, I've actually had that saying, well, if you can't be bothered to come and see me. I did a 400 or 500 mile round trip the following week to see him. When I sat across his desk, he wasn't relevant for me.
Oh, no.
For him. But, hey ho.
Right.
Like what you hear? Leave us a comment, click a few stars, share this episode, and please subscribe to the show. Interested in being a guest and sharing your information with our active and growing global audience? Podcasts are trending as a potent direct marketing and educational channel for brands and businesses who want to provide portable content for customers and consumers. Visit printmediacenter.com, click on the podcast logo, and request a partner package today. Share long and prosper.
I understand exactly what you're saying. I have 9 suitcases sitting in my house because I would just come in, put some clothes in the dry cleaning, pick up the other ones, throw them in a new suitcase, and start the rotation and go back out again. And the other day I just went to want to visit one printer for one day, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this, and where 2019, that just would have been Tuesday of a week that I was going to like 5 different places, and I was just stopping there, overnight. And it has just, everything has changed to a point where, our lives are really our personal lives, right? Like we have to incorporate our personal human experiences into the way that we do business as well. And if we look at our personal lives, we are e-commerce people now, many things are ordered online, especially when you can't find them in the stores. The other thing we are is masters of our own time management, meaning nobody's going to tell me I have to be somewhere on a Tuesday at a certain point of time if I want to learn something. to your point, you're a printer, you're working all day long. You're probably not able to stop what you're doing at 1:00 in the afternoon and go to that webinar, but you can watch it later on demand on your own time and rewatch it. And you can still contact people and ask them questions. And I just really feel that is the world that we now live in, where, people are talking about Zoom fatigue and all of that other stuff. And I understand that. Zoom meetings have actually elongated my day because I do spend more time, on like if I saw you at a trade show, for example, no offense, I might be like, hey, Wayne, I'd be like Wayne Beckett. We'd take our selfie, right? We'd have a little catch up and then I'd move along.
Yeah.
No offense, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, somebody walks over to your stand, you've got to go talk to them. Yeah. Now we set aside a half an hour, 45 minutes, and we use that time, efficiently. But then that happens 5 or 6 times a day. Yeah. Then I find my second shift starts at, when all of those people are offline, and now I'm going to go check my email and check my LinkedIn groups and do all these other things. So I think that we have to embrace the fact that not only do we live in these two different spaces, we do our research and we do purchasing or up to the point of purchase before, like there are tons of people now buying cars sight unseen. Yeah. I mean, it's the craziest thing I've ever seen. You literally go online, you pick out the car you want, and a truck drives it to your house and gives you the keys. Yeah. And that's the first time a lot of people have been in the car, seen the car, or anything like that. And there are other people that will do all of their research. And then the last step for them is they want to go to the car dealer. They want to smell it. They want to sit in it. Those are the two choices there. I would say predominantly that is where society has moved. So with all that being said, this is probably not going away. Now, do you have any plans to take your platform down, or is this going to be something that lives forever?
Yeah, as long as people are coming and people are exhibiting. So our exhibitors come on for a year. It's a year contract. And then, so part of that cost is for the build and the design and the rendering of the machines. If they want to carry on for the second year, which we're hoping everybody will, then they just pay a platform and support cost, which is a fraction of the cost. And they can carry on. They can give it a bit of a lick of paint. We can change graphics. It's going to go on, and we're hoping that it's going to become huge. I mean, at the moment, I think we're up to 25 companies on the show floor
and 32,000 attendees. 25 exhibitors. That's a pretty good return on investment. I mean,
some of our exhibitors have had over 2,000 leads since they come on board.
Wow. Well, hopefully you'll let me on your platform because now I want on that damn thing. Let's wrap this up by, first of all, I will put the information as far as it's printing-expo.online, but you don't have to write that down. I will put it in the podcast blurb as well as a link to Wayne's LinkedIn profile so you could connect with him and ask him all the questions you need, get a proposal, whatever else you need to make a decision about, joining the platform or, just registering and checking it out. But let's wrap this up by, like I said, we are still in online event mode, online conference mode, online education mode. User groups are still having their events online. What are your best tips for online event success, lessons learned over this last year and a half?
Do you know what? It's simple. Make it fun. Make it fun and make it interesting. As we touched on earlier, our potential customers, print service providers, are really time poor. They don't have time to sit through hours and hours and hours of webinars that, let's face it, are sometimes being presented by people that shouldn't be presenting, and just make it fun and keep it simple. Give them the information they want and let them move on because they're busy people.
I agree with you 100%. I don't mean this to come off the wrong way, but I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud that you...
It had to happen sooner or later.
Well, you know what I mean? Like, I can't even imagine the pushback you had when you were telling people about this in a Drupa year, no less, where they had already invested. I know that I can see the companies on your platform. They were mostly, probably all at Drupa and, thinking, what is this guy crazy? And then all of a sudden they realized you weren't so crazy. I mean, it unfortunately took a pandemic for that to kind of bring the vision that you actually had into something that became workable for everybody, but you still had that vision before everybody else did. So for that, I'm really proud of you. I'm really proud that you stuck with it. And I'm so happy for you that you have the success. And I know you would never get to say, I told you so, but it must be a good feeling just to know that the success of this is not just for you, but it's for your exhibitors and it's for the entire industry. And you made it happen and your partner. So thank you so much for that, and definitely for not listening to me when I said you're out of your mind doing it. And now I'm sure I'm just one of a long list of people who want to get on this thing and work more closely with you. So thank you so much for all of that.
Thank you, Deborah. It's been great talking to you as usual.
Until next time, Wayne Beckett, long and prosper, everybody.
Thanks for listening to podcasts from the Printerverse. Please subscribe, click some stars, and leave us a review. Connect with us through printmediacenter.com. We'd love to hear your feedback on our shows and topics that are of interest for future broadcasts. Until next time, thank you for joining us and listening to podcasts from the Printerverse. Print long and prosper.